Hi, my name is Andy Mallet, and this is Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 15. So last time we got a glimpse of menus and SWT, specifically pop-up context menus. Today we're going to go through the menu bar, which is the bar that shows up at the top of applications. So let's get started by launching Hello Menu Bar. So as you can see, it's just a simple app that has a label telling us to check out the menu bar above. On the Mac, the menu bar is always at the top of the screen, and it starts at the top left. So you can see here we have a file menu, an edit menu, options, language, country, format, view, and help. So let's go through them one by one. So the file menu has what you would typically expect of a file menu, like a new menu item for creating a new file, open for opening a file, open recent, which remembers the recent files, and even exit to exit the application. Though on the Mac, usually the standard for exiting is also to have a quit for the application under the application menu, and that is automatically added for you. You don't have to add it yourself. In any case, we'll get into the code in a second. The edit menu has, cut, copy, and paste. And one thing you can notice here is that it's got accelerators. So the nice thing about accelerators, like Command O, for example, is that if I close the menu and then just hit Command O, it basically does the action of opening a file. So it's the same as if I actually went here and selected this menu item. So let's go through options next. Options is just showing us that various different kinds of menu items. So for example, you can have a menu item that's a check menu item. It's kind of like a checkbox, except it's a menu item. So if I enable that one, it got checked and it ended up enabling these two menus. So you can nest menus within a menu. And then under this, it says select one. So if I select the first one and then go and select the second one, it switches it, meaning you can only select one. So that's kind of like a radio button, except this is called the radio menu item. This one, select multiple, is kind of like checkbox. So I can go and check 4 and then check 6, and now we have 2 menu items selected. So this is called the check menu item, and I'll show you the code of it in a second. Language is just showing us how you could actually set an image for a menu item. You don't even have to put text at all. So this is just letting us select a language, and when you select it, it says, okay, you selected the language of Denmark. And here it shows up as selected now. So this is the radio menu item that is an image, that has an image in it without text. Country is actually demonstrating that you can add both an image and text at the same time. So I can select the country of Finland over here. It says you selected the country of Finland, and as you can see, it selected Finland, and it has a check mark next to the flag and the country name. Format is just showing us that we can perform actions like changing the background color and then changing the foreground color. So we just changed the format. View is letting us through a radio menu items to select a small size or a large size, or we can get back to medium. And then help is a special menu. Apps usually have help in them, and it lets you be able to add things like a manual or tutorial or report an issue or sometimes software update, but also help. On the Mac, help has a search field that comes in every application. So you always get the search field, which is great because it lets you search through menu items. So if I select option, we have all of those options, and it automatically highlights them for you, as you can see on the left side. And then I can select option 5, and now if I go here, it got selected. So let's break this down by looking at the code. So I'm going to drag this here and start looking into the code. So basically, the difference between menu bar and menu is that menu was just you nest. Well, I mean, let's close this down. You nest the menu keyword under a widget, and it enables you to have a pop-up menu where if you right click on a widget, like let's just say this style text, it'll display a menu. We don't have one for this one, that's why it doesn't show a menu, but that's an example of what a standard pop-up context menu is. Whereas menu bar is, instead you say menu bar, and you can only nest it under shell, meaning window. So only the main application window can have a menu. Or other windows within the application, but what I'm trying to say is only shells or dialogues can have a menu, and you usually start with the word menu bar to declare a menu bar. Within it, you can then nest menus, so that means if I were to relaunch this, every one of those is a nested menu within the menu bar. And then within the menu, you can have menu items like those, which can be triggered directly, like if I click open, it got triggered, or you can have you know, a nested submenu within the menu that has more menu items within, and you know, you can nest menus as deep as you want. So so as you can see, there's the file menu. It's got those two menu items and followed by a menu, meaning a nested submenu. And then this one has two menu items as well. And then you can have a separator. So the separator is basically what you see over here, this line that separates this menu from this menu item. And one thing I spoke of last time is basically mnemonics. So this ampersand is basically saying that on Windows and Linux, if I hit Alt and then the letter O, it's gonna target the open action. So if I were to go here and then hit Alt O on Windows or Linux, it would trigger the open action. On the Mac, there's no mnemonic support, but there's accelerator support, so I can do Command O and it would target it as well. So this is how you set up an accelerator. It's just this and the symbols representing the characters you want. So I want Command and the letter O to trigger the open menu item. So it's as simple as that. Okay, open recent. You can see here how the mnemonic is a different letter. It's not the first one. It's actually R, because the first one is already taken by this one. So we selected a different letter. In any case, you know, you see menu items, and then menu items are kind of like buttons. They have a widget selected event, and when it gets triggered, you can do something in it, like open a message box. So let's scroll down a bit. The edit menu is very similar, nothing special there. Options menu is a bit different. It's got a radio menu item called enabled. It could have been a check box as well, but either way, once you enable it, we get access to these two menus. So you can see here they're getting enabled within the on widget selected event listener, and then this one has 3 radio menu items and this one has 3 check menu items. So these act like radio buttons and these act like checkboxes. Next we have the language menu, and within it we have radio menu items, and all of them have the image set but not the text. Whereas in this case, the country, we have the image and the text set. Selection lets you select a menu item if it's a radio or a check menu item. You can even use data binding here. We're not using data binding in this sample, but you could just as easily use data binding. And then here on widget selected, you can handle what happens if the menu item got triggered. You'd have to make sure it's selected first by using a variable here and then querying for its selection, and then based on that we display a message box. I mean, that's what we saw here when we went into language or country, and then you select France and it says, okay, you selected the country of France. So that's what happened inside the on widget selected event listener. Format just has a bunch of radio menu items, and they changed the main label background color. We already saw that. Foreground does the same thing except with the foreground color. View changed the font. So it was selecting either a font with a height of 25, 50 is medium, which is the default, and then 75 is the large. And then help basically gives you the special help menu, which on the Mac gives you an extra search field, which you do not have to declare here. It gets added for you automatically. I mean, we declared the manual, the tutorial menu items, and the report an issue. Oh yeah, one thing to keep in mind is if the menu item does an action that is immediate, like for example, one of those, like changing the size to small or large, it's an immediate action, then you just declare the name of the menu item directly without any extra characters. So small, medium, or large. If you are opening another dialog, like assume that report an issue was going to open a dialog, then the standard is that you would add ... at the end, kind of like what we did with the open menu item as well. So it had a ... meaning it opens the dialog, meaning you're not done. Like you have to perform this menu item and like trigger it and then do something else. You wouldn't be done just by clicking the menu item. So that's what the ... means. So yeah, that pretty much concludes hello menu bar and what menu bars are and how they compare to standard menus like pop-up context menus. So in order to learn more about Glimmer DSL for SWT, check out the GitHub project.